Now imagine investing in a pension fund for decades just to find yourself poor when you retire. Well, one economist reckons there is a real threat. Government could force investors to place up to 45% of funds in state-owned entities. At his manifesto rally, the ANC, it said, would investigate the possibility of prescribing assets to shore up ailing parastatals. Timekatso Tugwana has the story.
The country's debt currently stands at around 55% of GDP. But an economist says if you add the debt burden of state-owned entities, this figure skyrockets to around 90% of GDP. The solution being touted to the country's liquidity problems: pension funds. South Africa's pension assets are the 8th biggest in the world in dollar terms, with 4.3 trillion invested in various markets by 2017.
Prescribed assets is something that can make us go poor. Let me put it to you this way. In South Africa, we have a very good asset in our pension fund assets. And the bigger that asset is, the more crooks look at it. The more people with bad intentions look at that asset, and they find ways to get their money and their hands on that asset.
Schuessler says he's not being alarmist and points out the apartheid government used prescribed assets. And the ANC, in its election manifesto, said it was considering this very issue. A market analyst says there are some ways to safeguard your pension, though.
Get yourself out of the jurisdiction of whatever the prescribed asset regulation would be. If it's restricted, for instance, just to retirement funding, you could decide not to have an IRA and invest in a personal share portfolio or something similar. If it's, for instance, restricted to South African fund managers, you can always take your money out of the country and invest offshore.
Schuessler says fund managers should be alert and ready to act if the ANC presses ahead with the idea. Timekatso Tugwana, Johannesburg.